Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. I am Amy, along here with my sister Molly. We help high achieving women increase their income, but most importantly, their impact. We are neighbors, sisters, and business partners. We have built 8-figure businesses together, traveled the world together, raised our children together, mentored thousands of men and women together. And it's all because we have a penthouse mindset. We aim for the top and we show others how to empower themselves to peel back the layers and truly step into their greatness and calling. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. I am Amy Mosser, and we love helping high-achieving women not only increase their income, but most importantly, their impact. And today I get the privilege of interviewing Jennifer Lea. And let me tell you about a woman who is a rock star and impact. Impact is something that is so important to her. She is an entrepreneur. She and I connected because we have done a little bit of life as solo parents of teenagers, young children. And so we have really been able to bond over being an entrepreneur, having a mindset of resilience and perseverance and stepping out in faith. And I will say, Jennifer, you make me look lazy. And I tend to think I like get stuff done, get shit done, but girl, you do. So I just want to take it back. Tell me kind of a little bit about what started you on this entrepreneurial journey?
Well, first of all, you are far from lazy. You inspire me, so don't even go there. The entrepreneurial journey was never on my bingo card, and very little desire. I'd maybe thought at different points of starting my own company, but nothing serious. And one of my favorite quotes that is literally painted on my garage door as I enter my home every day is the Winnie the Pooh quote that says, you're stronger than you know that you are. And Bob Marley says, you don't know how strong you are until strong is your only choice. And so in early 2020, prior to COVID, I made the hardest decision of my life and left my husband, and I took my 2 kids and the dog and my tortoise and my clothes, and that was about it. And I moved in. COVID hit then, of course, 2 months later. I was living with my parents and trying to figure out what was next and buying a house, as you very well know in your industry, during the peak of the real estate market of COVID and during the financial turmoil of a divorce was not easy. So I got a fixer-upper and I was grateful to have a home, but I walked in the very first day and I saw 4 walls of 1974 olive green paint on the inside of the garage, and I said, this isn't gonna work. So I turned around and I didn't go in any further. I mean, I'd seen the inside of the house, but I'd never seen the garage because it was a for sale by owner and that's where they had all their stuff. So I thought, well, we're just gonna start here. So I went to Home Depot and I bought a paint sprayer and 5 gallons of white paint. And that was the first project I tackled all night long. And I continued through that. And it's interesting. The first, I actually started blogging it, and it was a vlog because it was video on blog. And I enjoy writing and I enjoy teaching. And so I started just documenting all of the progression of remodeling this house, and I called it Cheaper Than Wine. And my theory was that if I was remodeling my house every night instead of drinking a bottle of wine, that it would be cheaper. But really, I did both. It wasn't, but it was great. And it was just this therapy that I needed. What it also really kind of like, it got me maybe a teeny bit of a taste of that entrepreneurship. I wasn't making any money from this blog. But what I realized was I didn't want to be an influencer from the way that I had potentially considered. That you got these women out here with a 500,000 followers and they're remodeling their kitchen in full Lululemon and makeup in 30 seconds in a time lapse and said, look what I did. And great, fantastic. But that wasn't resonating with me. I thought, no, I kind of really want to teach. Like the how do you do this, not look what I did. And so that stuck in the back of my mind, but I didn't do anything else with it. When I got done with my remodel, I was out of content, but I had one more project that I really wanted to tackle, and that was the outside of the house. So the inside was, I was about 1,800 hours of sweat equity in, 9 months, and I managed the law firm all day long. That was my full-time job. Come home, and then I would remodel the house all night long, sleep for 2 or 3 hours, and start over the next day. And again, you do what you have to do. And I am a person who wants to finish a project. So like I was not going to live in this half remodeled mess, like get it done as fast as I could. But every day I came home and I looked at the outside of the house and it still looked like a fixer-upper. And I am a big person of first impressions. I grew up in a steakhouse where my mom worked as the hostess, and I think that I underestimated how much I learned of how do you greet a customer as they walk in the door. What does the experience feel like when someone comes into your space? Is that a restaurant, a party, a meeting, a Zoom call? It doesn't matter. What is that first impression? And you truly never get the second chance to make a first impression. I also think you form a first impression as you come home, your own home every day. And if you walk into a garage that is disorganized and a mudroom that is overflowing with laundry and it feels like chaos, that does not send the message to your heart and soul of this is a place of peace and calm and respite the way that it should be in a home.
Yeah.
And so when I went in, when I pulled up to this house every day, it was making me not feel like as empowered of the decisions that I had made. I wasn't proud of the house on the outside, but I was also out of time, energy, and money. And I'm like, oh, okay, how do I add some curb appeal and feel better about this first impression for myself than without spending a lot of that? And so I decided to paint the garage door, paint the front door, update the light fixture on the front porch, kind of do a little bit of touch-ups there. But the house numbers were kind of like above the garage. They were under an eave. They were small. One of them was crooked. You couldn't see them very well. And I thought, there's some really cute house number signs. Maybe I'll just move those up, by the porch light that I just had replaced and it'll be cute. So I started to Google modern house number signs, and that's a boring search. And the only one that I kind of liked had this little planter box on the front. And I thought, well, that's kind of cute. We live in Nebraska. What are you going to grow in it? Well, I don't know. I'm going to make this sign and then I'll figure it out. Well, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure it out at the craft store. I'm not planting anything in this that's real. So I go home or I go to the craft store. I wandered around. It was right before Easter of April in 2021. And so I'm wandering around. It takes me 45 minutes to figure out the right stuff that could look cute in there. I had to buy a whole bag of Spanish moss. I had to buy 3 foam blocks. $38 later, I get home. I have to find my wire cutters. Spanish moss is torn all over the garage. I had to find something to like put in this little robin's egg that I bought. And of course, I had to buy 12 of them because they didn't sell a package of one, so it didn't blow away. And I thought, holy moly, this is, first of all, the most adorable sign I've ever seen. It put right where I wanted it. It looked so cute. And then I realized Easter was over in 2 weeks and I was going to have to redo this little decor box. And I thought, okay, somebody surely has to ship this. And so I started searching for subscription boxes. There seemed to be one for everything, but faux floral holiday and seasonal decor kits. That's what I was looking for. And no one did. And, people say that entrepreneurs have different ideas in different ways. Some people try to solve a problem, like they identify a need in the marketplace they don't necessarily feel super passionate about, but they know that they can make money. Some people think about things for years and years and years. Most of them never do anything about it. They're like, it would be great if somebody, and then eventually somebody does that thing. And then there are the entrepreneurs that sort of have an epiphany and they're like, this is a great idea and it's going to work and I'm going to do it. And I was in that category. And so I just spent an entire weekend. I built out the prototypes, I built out the business model, and I said, I think this is here. Now, I had 20 years of experience in managing $10 million plus companies. I had an executive MBA, lots of leadership experience. I wasn't afraid of running a company, but I had no idea how do you take this concept from dirt and build it into what I could see in my mind was a national level household brand. And that was and continues to be a really, really big journey and bite to chew off. But that's where it started. It was just an idea solving my own challenge. And I just knew that there were millions of women across the country who would love to identify their home in a personal way. They didn't just need house numbers. We
Mhm.
do last names, monograms. And then I thought about what about all the cute little, people in assisted living facilities, and they should have something for their doors too. So we created a version for that. And then this has evolved to faux floral for planters and rugs and, all sorts of different things for porches. But it all started with just me trying to solve my own problem of having a cuter house number sign.
Okay, I love that. So going back, you were solving a problem. What was it? Was it a feeling? Did you have a dream that you're like, so you're a W-2 employee, that's all you've known,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Your parents were W-2 employees, they were
Yep.
not entrepreneurs. Okay.
Correct.
So because I think that's the majority of the people, right? 95% of the
Yep.
people are W-2 employees. Was there something that shifted? Was there that you said, I need to create this? You saw the need, but what was the next jump? Was there a shift in you that,
The timeline would help here. So I managed the law firm until April of 2022. I created this concept in April of 2021.
okay,
I launched the company in October of 2021. So basically, my remodel was done in April of 2021, and I shifted all of my energy, my extra hours at night from the
which by the
remodel.
way, were very few because you worked more than 40 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. But I shifted those, now instead of remodeling my house every night from 8 o'clock at night until 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, I was building the back end. I was building the tech. My very first employee was a wonderful Filipino woman whose name was Diana, and I paid her $7 an hour to work every night from 11 p.m. until 3 a.m. to keep me awake. That was her only job. And I had her on Zoom every night, and it was very, very lonely. When I was working in like remodeling, I just relished the time that I was by myself, but I wasn't sitting at a computer. I was retiling a floor. I had a paintbrush in my hand. I was doing something. It's really hard to fall asleep standing up while you're painting, right? But when you're sitting at a computer, I mean, and you're just like, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and you have, are on your 2 or 3 hours of sleep from the night before, you just kind of started nodding off. So that was how I stayed up. And then, so when I launched the company in October of 2021, we had our first 25 customers, and they were not all friends and family. That's an important distinction because I needed to know that somebody that I did not know would buy this product, and they did. By December, we had 40 customers that we're now shipping across the country, and it's starting to grow. But before I launched the company, 2 weeks before, I sat down with the executive committee of the law firm and I told them, I said, I have to tell you what I've been building. I mean, we live in the world of social media. There was no way that I could launch this company and not have somebody find out. And I wanted them to know from me, like, here's what I'm building. And there was also not a way for me in that role to be like, this is just a side hustle. No, like they knew me way too well. I don't do anything like half-assed.
Yes.
So I said, here's what I can tell you. Here's my dream. This is what I came up with. And I said, I don't know if it's going to work or not. And I said, all I can tell you is I'll promise when I no longer feel that I can do both jobs at the highest level of integrity that I need to, then I will come to you and let you know when that point is. And so when I was building in the background, it was fine because it was nights. It was okay. When I launched the company, I now had people shopping all day. I had customers texting. It was a whole different animal. And it was the end of December of 2021 that I was losing my mind from literally managing two companies 24/7 in my head because I was never turning one or the other off. And I just knew there's a quote, and I can't remember who wrote the book, but it's called the 99% rule. And 99% is a bitch and 100% is a breeze, right? So if you're, trying to lose 2 pounds, but you're cheating a little bit here and there, it takes you a whole lot longer to get that 2 pounds off than if you just like, whatever you're cutting out, lose it, and then you're done. And so it was that same concept of like, I knew that if I was not going to be able to take the company to the level that I wanted to take it if I didn't go all in. And I knew kind of for my mental sanity, I needed to just be doing one. And I just had to try. I had to play full out. I couldn't leave that one on the table and say, well, what if I coulda, shoulda, woulda? And so I, gave my notice at the end of that year. I replaced myself in the role and left in April of 2022. So, but that was a leap of faith. I mean, I always say the hardest decision I made in my adult life was leaving my husband. The scariest decision was leaving a six-figure corporate job as a single mom to chase a dream. I mean, I had 40 customers. That was a far cry from my current income.
I want to ask you, you burned the boats when you resigned from your six-figure
Mhm.
income as a solo parent. Did you have a plan B? Did you think, oh, if this doesn't work,
Go
I'll
go
go
back
back
and
to
get a
the
job.
law?
I mean, plan B was I knew I was employable, right? Like I could always go back and get another W-2, right? But there was really not a plan B. I've never looked at myself as like, I'm not afraid of trying things, but I've never looked at myself as failing at something. So I was just willing to bet on myself.
Mhm.
Um, and in the beginning of starting a company, it is me, myself, and I, right? Like, and then you start to build your team little by little by little by little, and it just keeps growing. But starting a startup versus starting a small business is very different. So, for the first go of entrepreneurship, I took the riskiest route.
Yes. Yes, because there was no plan. If you buy a franchise, right, there's plan, there's a system. There was no
Uh-huh.
system. You had the vision, the system in here, right? You knew it, you had the business plan, but nobody has done this before.
There's none.
What do we say? You're not crazy, you're just
You're
first.
first. You're first, right? Jamie currently, my
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And so you're first. You're the first one who has done something like this. First in your family, number one, first in the arena, right? Of
yeah.
the subscription service.
It's not so much the subscription side, it's the front porch space
Porch
that,
space.
no one has. There's lots of people who do interior design, right? We've got landscapers, but nobody's tackled sort of like how do you make your front porch more beautiful,
Yes, yeah.
specific as a niche, and then as a subscription. Yeah.
So as you have, and I love, you just have asked for how you've gotten involved in groups. How did you grow it? Because you went from being a part of a large law firm with lots of people. Like you said, you're alone. You're growing this alone. You're there besides your
Yeah.
sole employee to keep you awake. It's a lonely entrepreneurial ship is a bit lonely.
Yeah. I think for me, my two strengths, well, my top three strengths for Gallup are strategic, maximizer, arranger. So it's always the strategic is what's the goal that you're trying to reach. That maximizer is how do we get there in the most efficient, effective, highest ROI way. And then the arranger is what are all of the resources, people, money, energy, time that need to align to get us there in the most efficient, effective, highest ROI to the end goal. So those three are heavy at play when it comes to anything that I do, but particularly building a company. The other natural gift that I don't know that I have is being a connector, being able to identify what someone is really good at or knowledgeable at and sort of file it away about like how does that fit into my world, again the arranger maximizer strategic side. So I'm an extrovert, obviously Enneagram 7, know thyself well, and I just started having a lot of conversations with people, and the more conversations you have, the more you learn. And I just started connecting dots and following the breadcrumbs, right? And continuing to learn. I underestimate the amount of knowledge that I have gained in the last 4 years until I start to try and explain something to somebody. And I'm like, oh, this isn't a 5-minute answer. Like, there's no way. Like, do you have time for a cup of coffee for an hour? Because this, this one piece, right? So I think that is the bottom line. I can figure things out, I can connect the dots, and I'm not afraid to ask for help all along the way. I think one of the challenges looking back, and this is a little bit like if you were to, I've equated like birthing children to the experience of birthing a company so many times that you don't know anything about what you're doing on day one when you bring that baby home from the hospital and you figure it out. And you realize at some point it's so simple. All they need to do is be clean and be fed and sleep. Like that is all these babies are. But it's a lot, overwhelming as a new mom, right? And you wouldn't know how to take care of that child if they came out of the womb and they were 5 or they were 15, right? Like you know your child because you have been with them every single step. There isn't a playbook. There's a bazillion books of how to raise children, but there is not one that will teach you how to raise your child. And I find that a company is the same way. There's a lot of books on how to build businesses and how to be a great leader, but there is not one that will teach you how to build your business. And I think that just like parenting, one of the hardest parts is as the company grows and as the challenges sort of become more complex, there are fewer people to sort of ask for help or that can identify with that particular issue. So at 4 years in, the stakes become higher, the zeros on both sides become higher, the number of people that are on your team become higher, just everything is higher. And again, nobody's ever done this before. You're not crazy, you're just first, but the people that you need access to become a little more challenging. And I
Mm,
think that higher callings require access to higher resources.
so good. I'm taking notes. That is so good. So higher callings require higher access to higher
That's
resources.
to higher resources. Yeah.
Yes, that is so good. Okay, so take us, you've started this, you're 3 years, I'm trying to think, 4 years into it right now.
Yep.
Fast forward to entry MB today and then
Yeah.
where you're going. The reason I love talking to you is you are so laser focused. You are so, you see it as done. You saw it as done the moment you started this. And that is one thing I admire about you is that you hold the vision and have always held the vision and never wavered, burn the boats as we talked about. So fast forward to where entry MV is right now and where it's going because it has gained incredible momentum and there's so many exciting things going on with it.
Well, thank you. I think one of the things that has, and I have done a lot of inner work, but you also have to be able to let go of the outcome.
Mm,
And when you can hold the vision, that's a hard one to also accept. But I think sometimes and especially at points where I would say there's some pivotal points that we're at within the company right now, it may not be, I may have been meant to start the company. I may not be the one to finish it. I may not be the one that's meant to scale it to $1 billion. I don't know. I just hold that loosely, right? So the vision and the end and the impact and the potential and all of that is there. But trusting the process,
mhm,
right? And
mhm.
just letting go of how you get there is a lot of deep breaths. And it's, again, everything gets more complicated as it goes. So there's like everything up to this point to March was strictly e-commerce. There's an incredible e-commerce opportunity. March of this year came and we pivoted a bit to test some more boots on the ground concepts of what happens if we do commercial planter installations? What happens if we go and respond to the customers that have been asking for us for years? Can you just come do my front porch for me instead of shipping it to me? Can you just do this for me? The planters, that customers for years have been saying, can you ship me something bigger? I need to put all of this stuff in my pots. And we're like, yeah, but what does that look like? And how do we source it? And so we've shifted. And then we had people it's old school. It's the OG influencers of in-home pop-up events and saying, I want to touch your product and see it and feel it. Our target market are women 40 to 60-ish. And they are less trustworthy of buying things from people they don't know. So they're not all of, I mean, there's some exceptions, but by and large, they're not buying off of TikTok. They're not buying off of an Instagram influencer. They're still have valuing that know, like, trust relationship. So the things that we're testing right now are not not still doing the e-commerce side, but veering down a different path a little bit. So that's another one of those, like, the playbook doesn't exist. And quite frankly, it's contrary to all of the advice in the playbooks that are out there for starting e-commerce companies and for startups in general. And so I don't think we're crazy. We're just first.
I was just going to say that we're going to go back to birthing babies. Not everybody's child's different. Everybody's business is different. So it doesn't have to, there's not a playbook, play by play book. And I love that you're open to that because I think knowing that you can pivot, that you're in that surrender sort of mode, like, right, I am open for options. I am like willing to see things differently, to see opportunities differently, to add in. And I think that we can get paralyzed by listening to, by asking other people, right? First of all, asking people that have not done what we have done. So I'm like, I never take advice from somebody who has not done more than I have done, and people love to offer advice. Number two, it's a different things will work for different companies. So, and I love that's probably one of my favorite, the things I admire most about you is that we have you mentioned in the beginning, just seeing like maybe this is I'm part of, it's somebody will take it from here, or you're open to
Yeah.
investors, you're open to whatever may happen instead of like, no, like I can do this on my own. There may be other people that you take it from where it is, you brought it here and you're going to pass the baton because I know you have seen great opportunities grow from this.
Mhm.
And so what does the next 5 years look like for you? What does your vision hold for that?
I don't know. It's going to be an adventure. It's going to be fun, right? I see myself in the next 5 years sharing a lot more of the journey. The people that I have looked up to have been in the e-commerce space or a variation of it. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, Jamie Kern Lima, founder of It, Kendra Scott, Kara Golden founded Hint Water. Like, there's just some really amazing female entrepreneurs. I mean, you could go down the list of Bumble and Hummingbirds and just, I mean, there's so many amazing companies out there. But I think for me, it's harder to find the people who haven't built the billion-dollar company yet and hear the story as it goes along. And that is a challenge that first I have to get past in my own mind of it's not enough yet. For a long time, I told myself, well, I haven't done that yet, so therefore I don't have valuable knowledge and information to share. And I have learned, no, that's so not true, right? And like, how much can you share as you go and recognize that it doesn't have to be done yet. And quite frankly, it never is. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs that and I can't remember what the quote is, but it's like one of the scariest things is when you catch your dream, right?
Mm.
And then what do you do? And what does the other side of that look like? And so I think it is just the joy is in the journey and share it as I build and as I go along and let whatever happens happen and it's okay to talk about it. Like, whatever that is, it's okay. But I think that that's where my impact is supposed to be made.
What is the greatest piece of advice that you have received from somebody while building this business?
Hmm. I've received so much. I think the most important piece that I think, and it's not just one person, but for me, I've had to continue to find people who believe in me more than I believe in myself, who see more than what I can see. And I can see a lot, but I think I have underestimated myself over and over again in life, undervalued. And when those people they can see your vision. You can explain it. They're like, oh yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
I think and they're not people that are just looking through rose-colored glasses, it's, you have to admire and respect, but that's been probably what's kept me going more than anything.
Yes. And isn't that so? You have always had a mastermind. You've always had people that where you were hired, that you have collaborated with, that you have surrounded yourself with. Because, like we mentioned,
Yeah.
there's fewer of us, fewer entrepreneurs, fewer burn the boats, hold the vision, step out in faith people than there are,
Yeah. My first coach, executive coach that I hired was in 2013. And I didn't even know what that term meant prior to that, but I was doing my thesis for my MBA, and it was on executive coaching for a national company, international company actually, that was looking to expand into a territory on the other side of the world. And so I interviewed 78 executive coaches from all over the world that really all had a different sort of set of tools in their belt, if you will. And the tool, the one that this particular coach had worked with most in her tool belt was Gallup Strengths. And her husband was a lawyer. I was working for attorneys at the time, and she was a runner, and just there was just a lot of connection. And I think that that is one of the things that the opportunity that I had to interview so many coaches helped me understand that you have to have the fit. One coach does not fit all sizes. It's just like, I mean, I suppose that there's people who are like, oh, I went to a therapist and that was a waste of time. Well, you probably weren't at the right one for
right.
you, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a belief that you should always outgrow your coaches. You should people,
Amen.
places, spaces, chapters, seasons of life, right? And that is the goal. You learn and
Yes.
you move on and you keep growing.
Yes.
And so I think for me, for sure, like that was from foundational to understand the value of coaches and also understand that there were so many different kinds, the opportunities ahead, and I would always have a coach, but they would be for different reasons and seasons. So,
So that being said, I sort of see you light up when you speak of like all that you've learned, coaching,
yeah.
speaking, things of that sort. So would there be a Jennifer Lee brand, something because you've learned so much, you've experienced so much, corporate America, tremendous success in corporate America,
Yeah.
being a startup. I mean, you have a lot of expertise, particularly for women. I see that, which, our podcast tends to cater towards women. So is
Yeah.
there something, am I sensing something that
I think
open
there's
to?
certainly sharing. There is, I mean, I don't know what that looks like yet either. I mean, there's a book, there's a podcast, there's, keynote speaking, there's probably consulting. I don't know the path of all of this that's coming down the pike. Again, surrendering and just
Yeah.
holding open to whatever the outcome may be. But I do love to share and help other women. I don't know what coaching would ever look like for me. I'm not going to say no because I always say never, but it would have to be very highly driven women
Mhm.
that I identified with. Again, I think it's a
I
match on
see
both.
that as your caviar client. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Women just like
like
you, right?
yeah,
Women just
like
like
it
you.
has to be a right fit on both sides or otherwise it's not going to work.
Yes. Okay. A couple of questions before we bring it in for a landing.
Yeah.
You have two daughters.
Yeah.
What do you hope, if I were to ask your daughters what they would say about their mother, what do you hope that they're learning? And I know they would say it because you're raising two beautiful young women. What would they say about their mom?
That's a great question. I don't know. One of them is close by, so I hear her over here. Like she could ask.
She's, or what would
But
you hope there? Or what's your goal?
I what I hope, I think do the right thing. I would say treat people the way that you want to be treated. Like just live by the golden rule. Everything that you need to know, you learned in kindergarten. Remember how small of a world it is. Like you just never, ever, ever know how people's paths cross and come back. And follow your heart. Like don't do something that doesn't make you happy. Don't spend
Yeah.
time with people that don't bring you joy.
Yes.
Don't try and please somebody else. Like just be true to you. And I think that's what I've learned through all the years.
Well, and that's clearly what you are modeling to them, your perseverance, persistence, making a decision. I think women have such a hard time making a decision, and you make decisions. You make decisions and then don't turn back. What do they say? Successful women make decisions quickly or
Yeah.
and change their minds slowly. So you
Yeah.
make a decision and move forward. You're not
Yeah.
indecisive. So they see you stepping out in confidence and faith every single day.
There's nothing that you can't, I mean, well, there's very few things in life you can't undo. Don't get a tattoo. You're gonna change
Although
your
you
mind.
can't undo that. You can, spend
There's
several.
laser options, you're right, depending on the colors. I worked for plastic surgeons for 5 years, right? But like in general, there's very few things you can't undo, right? You can't, life is a journey of learning. It's not, I mean, everything is solvable, right? There's a wonderful book, Everything is Fixable and Figure Outable. That's
Figure
what it's
outable.
called.
Yes, I love, yes,
Everything's
everything's
figure
figure
outable.
outable.
And I
Yes.
love that. So it's, yeah, don't be afraid. Make a decision and move on. And if it doesn't end up working out, it wasn't meant to be, and it's okay.
And you learn from it, right? I learn way more from my failures. I know that you do too, than your successes.
Yep. I always say there's no failure, it's just feedback.
Yes, there you go. Absolutely. All right. So as we bring it in for a landing, our podcast is called Meet Me in the Penthouse. And we always ask, what does it mean to you to be living in the penthouse?
Yeah. I think for sure it's a state of mind more than anything else. And having the sense of freedom is probably what's most important to me. I just don't like to be in a box. I like to be able to draw outside the lines and be able to be creative and solve challenges and help people and all of those things. So again, if we go back to what I just said, like live in alignment with the assignment, that is probably the best. And I hope that that's what continues for me because mentally I'm there.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is just the beginning. I just like being on this journey with you. I'm so grateful for, and I just cannot wait to
Likewise.
see that as the years reveal themselves and all of the beautiful, the glorious unfolding for Jennifer Lee. And I'm here for the ride. I got my popcorn and I'm here for the ride. It's going to be amazing. I got a front row seat.
Thanks, Amy. Yes, you do. Oh, I appreciate it so much. Great to see you and visit with you today.
Thank you. And thanks again for popping on to meet me in the penthouse. Hey guys, we'd love to have you join our wait list for our class of You from the Top. There are going to be incredible women who are making incredible, decisive, clear decisions. The energy is fabulous. The view from the top is fabulous. And there's room for you at the top. Go to sistersnextdoor.com and join our wait list.